Hello, everyone. My name is Lockie, and this is Coast Watch Football, your home for all things Central Coast Mariners. The 2025-26 A-League men's season is just around the corner. It kicks off this weekend, Mariners hosting Newcastle Jets, our F3 Derby rivals. A huge game to kick off the new campaign. We're going to be diving into this season for the Mariners, what we can expect, where Mariners will finish. What does a successful season look like for the Mariners this year in the A-League men's competition? We're going to look at the first few fixtures of the campaign, possibly where we could get some results early on this season. And of course, diving into the squad, what it looks like, how it's shaping up heading to this campaign, and maybe talking about what we could see in regards to a starting 11 heading into this campaign. First of all, the new kits have arrived this past week. I actually really like them. Look, they're quite plain, sort of simple designs, clean, classic designs. I don't mind it. The home kit seems to be a brighter shade of yellow. It'll be interesting to see it in person. You can see almost a darker shade of yellow there on the sleeves and up on the collar as well. The away kit's awesome, and I've seen a lot of comments online. People really digging this away kit. I love the way they've integrated that palm tree pattern into the navy kit. So if I'm picking up any one of these, it's definitely that away kit there. And you can see down the bottom, we've got that white third kit as well. A few goalkeeper kits in there also. And of course, we've got a few interesting players there in that photo at the bottom. Maybe some new signings for our A-League women's team. We will be doing our A-League women's season preview for the Mariners in a couple of weeks' time. That season is getting underway in a few weeks' time still. But time to talk about the first few fixtures of this season. How is it looking as the campaign kicks off as at home against Newcastle Jets, F3 Derby this Sunday? So it's a big test for Mariners because obviously we know Newcastle Jets coming off that win in the Australia Cup. They have just won their first piece of silverware in 17 years. Credit to Newcastle Jets. They deserved it in the end. They were good in that Australia Cup final. They've been great in their whole Australia Cup run. And they are heading into this F3 Derby now with a whole lot of confidence. Now, of course, we have to acknowledge the last F3 Derby, which in my time following the Mariners, which, I've been following the Mariners since I was a kid, since the very beginning. And that loss at the end of last season against Newcastle Jets up in Newcastle was one of the most devastating performances, the most devastating results we've ever seen for Central Coast Mariners, man. So simply just coming off that F3 Derby result last time around, we have to respond. We have to be competitive in this game. But we do have to acknowledge that Mariners this season, look, there's been a lot of uncertainty surrounding the club, a lot of rumblings in regards to what's going on behind the scenes. We don't really know what's happening. And hopefully we do get some clarity, in the weeks and months to come in regards to what, the future direction of the club looks like. But it feels like we are in a bit of a transitional phase at this stage. But all the focus now turns to the football field. We need to get a result. Look, at the time of this recording, we don't have an interim. The interim coach hasn't been appointed yet. My expectation is that it will be Josh Rose, but again, at the time of this recording, nothing confirmed yet. So we'll see what's happening in the coaching department. But that, of course, is already a huge blow heading into this season. Mark Jackson departing the club, unfortunately, heading overseas. So we have to really rally together here and put together a good performance against Newcastle Jets to kick off the season. In the last preseason friendly at the Central Coast Mariners Fan Day, that 3-0 loss to Wellington Phoenix, disappointing result, disappointing performance. We were lacking a little bit in attack in that game. I did a review, some takeaways from that game here on the channel, so check out that video if you haven't done so yet. But here against the Newcastle Jets, my expectation heading into this round one game is that if we can come away with a draw, I think that would be a good result. And I think that says a lot about the state of the two clubs. You got the Mariners, who have got a whole lot of uncertainty surrounding them. Newcastle Jets coming off winning their first piece of silverware in 17 years. It does seem to happen a lot. It does get spoken about a lot, where it's often the case where Mariners and Newcastle Jets don't necessarily always succeed at the same time. It almost seems like, last few years Mariners have been on top, and now it feels like maybe Newcastle Jets winning the Australia Cup, could they really step up, in the seasons to come? Hopefully not, as Mariners fans, of course. But if we can get a draw here against a good Newcastle Jets side, who are looking real good under new head coach Mark Milligan, I think we'll take that. I think there'll be goals in this game. I do think so. Maybe 1-1, 2-2. Where are the goals going to come from for Mariners? Again, a lot of pressure on the likes of Edmondson and DiPizio in those forward positions. Very interesting indeed. Looking at the other games there, Sydney FC away, fascinating test there against the Sky Blues, who are looking to bounce back after missing out on finals last season. Wellington at home, of course, just played them in that preseason friendly. Then we got Perth Glory away, Wanderers away, and then Melbourne City at home. So in terms of winnable games, very, very interested to see how Perth Glory will go this season. We know they've gone through a lot of changes, but Glory, they've struggled year after year for the last few seasons now. So maybe that could be a winnable game there for Central Coast Mariners, but we have struggled heading over to Western Australia in recent years. Wellington Phoenix at home. I mean, I would have said that was a winnable game too, but we did struggle against Phoenix in that preseason friendly. Wanderers away, Melbourne City at home. Could be two difficult fixtures there. So in terms of actual wins, again, I don't want to be like negative, but I'm just trying to be realistic about this current situation. And I'm sure you guys can understand where I'm coming from. But I'm hoping that maybe we can just get maybe 1 or 2 wins here in those home games. We have to try and not lose. That was one of the big things of last year, the fact that our away form almost seemed better than our home form. We have to try and make Polytech Stadium heading into this season a fortress once more. Even if we do miss out on finals again, if we do struggle away from home, let's at least be competitive and strong and resilient in the home games, because we did see some really poor performances at home. There's conceding 4 goals against Adelaide at home, another heavy defeat against Auckland at home as well. We had some poor losses at our own home stadium. Let's try and just focus on that. It has to be the priority. It doesn't matter who we are playing, whether it is Jets, Wellington, City in these first 6 games here. Let's just put in a strong performance. Let's back the boys and hopefully at least get draws in that game. Got to make sure we stop these losses at home and keep the good vibes here with the fans at the home grounds. So, look, I'm hoping for maybe 1 or 2 wins, a few draws, but to be realistic, it will be tough in just about all these games for Central Coast Mariners to start off the season. Hey, let's talk about the squad now. This is how it is shaping up heading into this campaign. This is a look at all the different positions across the park. Obviously, we've got a number of players who can play several different positions, especially in those 4 attacking positions there. A lot of versatile players, so the likes of DePizio, DeLima, like these guys can play all around sort of that front third, if you like. But the depth is looking okay in the end, but obviously a lot of youth and inexperience in regards to A-League level in this team. Goalkeepers, Redmayne, Parech, Cullen, Pavlicic, and Ajanovic in there. It looks like Redmayne will be the starting goalkeeper. It looks like he's been starting a lot of the preseason friendlies. He started against Wellington yesterday. Hopefully, Parech Cullen does get some opportunities here and there, but he may be sitting on the bench more often than not. At back 4, Rue, Sainsbury, Harrington, Donachie, Paul. They're our centre-back options there. Moragas and Kennedy. New signing Will Kennedy over from Sydney FC. I think it's a good signing, and I think he'll provide depth not just at left back, but at right back. He can play at either position, can even come into midfield as well. So versatile player, which is good to have someone like that who's young, got a lot of potential, but he's versatile as well. It seems like he's happy to sort of play any role across that back line and even into midfield. And then let's speak about that midfield. Brad Tapp, Harry Steele, you've got James Harides there, Hayne Eames, McAlmont, a lot of options in that midfield area. Brad Tapp, he may well be playing centre-back heading into this season. We saw that in the preseason friendly against Wellington, especially with injuries to Sainsbury. And look, Donachie and Harrington weren't involved in that preseason friendly against Wellington. Not sure if there's any injury concern there, but my expectation is that it will be Nathan Paul and Brad Tapp in the centre of defence. Brad Tapp is certainly capable of playing in that back line, but I would like to see him in midfield. I think he could operate really well as a strong, solid defensive midfielder and allow, whether he's playing alongside maybe Eames or McAlmont or Steele, allow those guys to have a bit more freedom, and Tapp can sort of maybe sit a bit deeper. That's what I would like to see personally as a fan. Attacking midfield positions, a lot of options there. DePizio, I think, will be that starting player in that number 10 role, sort of playing alongside Edmondson. Brantman, Sandbrook, Alex Harides, a lot of, again, young options there. Wide positions, we're looking at Thea Harris, a bit in yours back at the club after returning from his loan spell away. Faisal and DeLima can play out wide as well. And then up top, I mean, we were all hoping to see someone come in that forward position, a new signing to arrive in the striker position. Edmondson and Duarte, a lot of pressure on those guys to really deliver. And Ryan Edmondson, I think he can be that main guy up top for Central Coast Mariners. I mean, he will be this season, but there is a lot of pressure on Ryan Edmondson to perform this season, with Alec Kowal departing as well. Ryan Edmondson, we know he missed out a lot of last season due to injury. But of course, we shouldn't forget those heroics in the A-League Men's Grand Final back in 2024. Edmondson, hopefully he can find some goals early on in this campaign, build some confidence early on in this season, and he could be, a real leader for the Mariners up top. So, look, it's a young squad, a bit of experience here and there, but look, hopefully Sainsbury continues his injury recovery and hopefully he does return soon. in terms of the starting 11, I would go for the guys that I've picked here if they're all fit. So you're looking at the first player in each position. So you're looking at, Redmayne, Rue, Sainsbury, Donachie, Moragas. I'll probably actually maybe start Nathan Paul ahead of Donachie. I'm a big fan of Nathan Paul. I thought he was good last season. In midfield, I would go for Tapp, Eames, and DiPizio. I think we could see another big season for Hayne Eames. He was good last year, showed us glimpses of his talent and his ability. And with that, first season of A-League experience under his belts, he could get even better this year. So Hayne Eames, keep an eye on him this year. Wide positions, Thea Harris and Faisal. I would probably start both those guys. I would like to see Thea Harris operate off the right. We do see him often play on the left wing for the Mariners, but playing on the right, could even cut in on his left foot. I think I'd like to see that. Faisal on the right, on the left wing. That would be my preference. And I think I would start Edmondson up top. But Duarte, big opportunity for him to get lots of game time up top as well. So there's a look at the Mariners squad for this season. How are you guys feeling? What does success look like for the Mariners? That's the final question. And for me, look, obviously in the A-League men's competition, we don't have any relegation, but we do know the bottom 4 spots go to the Australia Cup playoffs. Australia Cup, obviously a separate competition, but it's a competition we have struggled in a lot. If we can avoid those bottom 4 spots, secure a place in the Australia Cup next year, that would be great. So that means finishing, no lower than the 9th place. Between 9th and 12th, they go through the Oz Cup playoffs. So even if we can just finish in 8th, 7th, be close to maybe competing for finals, I think that would be a successful season for this young and inexperienced Mariners side. And as well, we should highlight, I think the mid-season transfer window is going to be huge for the Mariners. Look, again, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, ownership situation, who really knows what's happening at this stage. But if it maybe does get sorted out, if we get some good news in regards to the future of this club and we feel secure going forward, and maybe there's some funds to utilize, maybe Mariners could make some big moves in the mid-season transfer window. It opens in January. So that could be a big, big time for Mariners where maybe we do struggle a little bit in the opening couple months. But maybe with some quality coming in the mid-season transfer window to strengthen the squad, maybe the second half of the season could look a little bit brighter for this team. Look, I do want to finish off by saying that I don't want to be negative, but I'm trying to be realistic. But I am excited about this talented young contingent of players. We've got some great guys in this team, man. DiPizio, Eames, Faisal, like all these guys, DeLima, Brantman have so much potential. And I'm really excited to see what they do this year for the Central Coast Mariners. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss our Mariners content here at Coast Watch Football. Appreciate you guys joining us here on the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.